Financial decisions operate under uncertainty before they operate under calculation. Outcomes cannot be known at the moment of choice because conditions extend beyond observation. Information arrives in partial form, distributed across time, and unevenly across sources. This limits certainty. Probability provides a way to represent unknown outcomes without assuming precision. It translates uncertainty into ranges, likelihoods, and expectations. These representations do not describe what will occur. They describe what cannot be ruled out. Decision systems rely on probabilistic structure to compare options under incomplete information. Choices are evaluated by expected distributions, not by single results. Uncertainty remains present, but it becomes manageable through structured approximation. Probability does not resolve ambiguity. It organizes exposure to outcomes that remain unresolved, allowing comparison without closure. This framing supports continuity. Decisions can proceed despite missing information, because uncertainty is expressed rather than eliminated. Probabilistic representations do not reduce uncertainty. They formalize it. Unknown outcomes are grouped into sets, so comparison can occur without full resolution. This allows decisions to proceed when information remains incomplete. Probabilities summarize exposure, not certainty. They assign weight to possible states, while accepting that realization remains outside control. Financial systems depend on this abstraction. Risk is evaluated through distributions, rather than through exact forecasts. This supports coordination. Different options can be compared using common measures, even when outcomes differ in timing and form. Probability aligns decision processes across participants without requiring shared beliefs about what will occur. Expectations remain provisional. They guide choice by structure, not by prediction. Uncertainty persists, but it is rendered comparable within formal decision frames. Probability gains meaning through repetition. Single events provide limited information because outcomes reflect only one realization from many possibilities. Patterns emerge when results accumulate. Over time, frequencies stabilize, allowing expectations to be adjusted. Financial systems rely on this aggregation. Performance is evaluated across periods, not at isolated moments. This reduces sensitivity to individual outcomes. Decisions are assessed by how distributions evolve, rather than by whether a single result matches expectation. Probability therefore links time and uncertainty. It allows learning without certainty. Past outcomes inform future assessments, even though conditions are never identical. Judgment remains provisional, but it becomes structured through accumulation. Uncertainty persists, yet decision processes retain coherence across repeated exposure. As distributions extend across longer horizons, their role becomes clearer. Short sequences remain volatile because limited observations carry high variance. Longer sequences smooth this instability. Outcomes disperse around central tendencies, allowing comparison without reliance on individual results. Financial evaluation therefore emphasizes horizon selection. Decisions reference periods long enough to reveal structure, but short enough to remain actionable. Probability mediates between immediacy and accumulation. It neither ignores recent outcomes nor treats them as decisive. Weight shifts as evidence grows. This balance stabilizes judgment. Systems maintain direction by updating expectations gradually, rather than reacting to each realization. Uncertainty remains unresolved, but its influence is proportioned over time. The chosen horizon shapes how risk is perceived. Short horizons emphasize fluctuation because outcomes remain close to individual realizations. Variation appears dominant, and distributions remain incomplete. Longer horizons absorb this variation, allowing dispersion to be evaluated as structure. Outcomes spread around central tendencies, and irregular results carry less influence. This distinction affects decision pace. When assessment windows are narrow, signals update frequently, and revision accelerates. Expectations remain sensitive to recent outcomes. When windows expand, updates slow, and interpretation stabilizes. Evidence accumulates before judgment adjusts. Financial systems operate within this trade-off. They select horizons that preserve responsiveness without amplifying noise. Probability supports this calibration. It distributes uncertainty across time, so exposure can be compared without continuous revision. Risk remains present, but it is moderated by the scale at which outcomes are interpreted. Probabilistic thinking does not promise resolution. It establishes discipline under uncertainty. Decisions proceed without requiring complete knowledge, because probability defines how uncertainty is carried forward. Judgment remains bounded. Expectations are updated only when accumulated evidence alters distributional structure, not when isolated outcomes occur. This constrains reaction. Systems avoid oscillation by limiting sensitivity to short-term variation. Probability therefore regulates decision tempo. It slows response where noise dominates and permits adjustment when patterns persist. Uncertainty is not eliminated, but its influence is shaped. Possible outcomes remain open, yet their weight is ordered within formal evaluation. This ordering supports coherence. Decisions appear restrained not because information is absent, but because uncertainty is treated explicitly. Limits form where probability replaces certainty, and choice proceeds without closure. These limits do not reflect error. They describe how financial systems remain functional under incomplete knowledge. Uncertainty cannot be removed without halting decision processes. Probability allows action to continue without resolution. It defines boundaries around what can be expected, rather than outcomes that can be guaranteed. Decisions proceed within these bounds. What is unknown is carried forward as structured exposure, not ignored. This preserves coherence. Systems remain stable because uncertainty is acknowledged, not denied. Probabilistic thinking does not eliminate risk. It prevents certainty from being assumed where it cannot exist. Limits form where distribution replaces prediction and judgment remains provisional. These limits constrain decisions, but they also sustain them. By accepting uncertainty, financial systems maintain continuity without requiring closure, finality, or complete information.